A kingdom that is divided never stands for very long. By the early part of 1111, the Vlandian Empire was teetering on anarchy and collapse as the households stood in defiance of each other and held the ruling King Aserai in contempt. Nevertheless, through court intrigue and a network of spies, the Vlandian households had also learned unpleasant truths about the so-called Baron of House York. Words finally turned to action, though, following the events of April 19th. King Aserai and his personal scouting party had been ambushed and captured, some say killed, by a raiding party of Vikings, and the Baron had been near the battle and had not come to Aserai's aid. Vlandian spies even reported the Baron had laughed and mimicked the sounds of the dying as the Vlandian forces were massacred. This heinous desertion finally caused the houses of Vlandia to react. The Baron was summarily banished from Vlandia and stripped of all noble titles. The regent Ellis also placed a 2 million dinar bounty on the Baron, wanted dead or alive, and officially labeled him as outside the law. Though the meaning has changed over the centuries of time, this term still exists to this day, just in a different form. Just want to hit the garrison quick. I'll do this quickly for you fellas. In fact, I might even just interrupt that previous intro and we can do another one here. I just want to gather a few good troops here. Before we go down to Caleus Castle, we want to make sure that we have a pretty stout army here, right? We can't really afford to have, 100 scrubby troops and a bunch of injured guys for what stands to be a very nasty siege assault. So let's head on over there. Welcome back again, friends, to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. You are watching our epic Vlandian campaign. Our channel's dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. Now, we just took Carbantheth in the previous episode. The Northern Empire is on their proverbial last leg. It's more like they have a broken leg and they're trying to stand on it. All they have is the castle there. Now, already Carbantheth is under siege, but there's 900 defenders, and we should have time to handle what's here at Caleus Castle and then head back to Carbantheth to stop those defenders. The reason is, of course, is that the AI is a little bit slower typically than we are in siege. Now, a gigantic, huge defense force here at Caleus Castle, as usual, right? The enemy's down to one location, and so their forces are scurrying in from all over the place, trying to get shelter in this castle. And this is one of the most interesting castles in the game. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to approach this very methodically because, of course, the enemy has a huge amount of defenders. In fact, when it's all said and done here, they may have more defenders than we have attackers. And so it's going to require a little bit of a tactical approach here. Otherwise, we won't succeed. As the Carbantheth last episode, you just can't take any of these battles in this campaign for granted. Not to mention, the odds of reinforcements from outside here is significant because the Northern Empire is going to have all kinds of little scurrying cockroaches all outside our castle here when we begin to assault it. Hell, we might even get attacked by sturgeon forces, right? There's sturgeon armies forming up. It's the Highlands arena, right? You can't count out anything in this campaign. All right, so we're going to build 3 trebuchets here and a catapult. Who knows how this is going to go. I'm trying to speed through some of these processes, right? We did some companion upgrades. I'm not going to do that very often. I'm not going to show you guys adding 1 point here, adding a perk point here for Comet Royal. We will do that every 3 or 4 episodes, but this campaign is already 40, 45 to 50 episodes in, right? You guys have to remember there's the original Patreon episodes where I had about 12 episodes of the pre Baron York campaign. Now look at this shit. This is beautiful. Look over here in the lower left. Revolt's rebels taken prisoner by mountain bandits and sea raiders. That is just amazing, right? That is just another component. Uh-oh. That also looked like Canute was attacking the Vlandian forces at Pendraic Castle. That means those Vlandian dipshits are captured, right? Eowyn is going to get captured. It's like a reverse of the Lord of the Rings, right? Down she goes. But I love the chaos. We have all this different chaos going in addition to these uber powerful enemies. There's all kinds of rebels breaking loose, and because of all the different mods we're using, there's all these bandits rampaging throughout the lands, capturing people, killing this guy, capturing those people. It really does add an amazing layer of chaos. Now, they won't form kingdoms. It's too bad there's not like a bandit nation or something like that, but it does add a great element of chaos and a real feel to the campaign, right? These highways are not safe, right? Unless you have a good-sized army, you're at risk. And of course, those rebels, which is ironic, rebels getting attacked, they just found out, right? You can see who the rebels and the bandits aren't friends either, right? The rebels got fucking sacked. Now, this is definitely one of the most interesting castles in the game. Look at this. It's basically a two-part castle with the drawbridge in the middle. And tactically, what we're going to try to do here is apply pressure on one side, sort of draw enemy forces, and then try to blitz them on the other side. I think we will try to get our troops, our heaviest press, our delayed real thrust here on the left. And the reason is because there's only one entry there. Mathematically, the enemy figures to guard the gate with more troops. So we will make a big press on the left there. I think with an infantry division, the 2nd division here, we'll have to get the units reassigned. And then we'll have, the 5th. And then we can bring the 7th and 8th, the auxiliary archer divisions, once the siege gets going here. Of course, Baron York will lead the 2nd division, and the rest of these guys can just be in the 5th. I'm trying to avoid getting our companions involved directly into combat, right? Because we can definitely get killed at a much higher rate. The Death for All mod, for those following, we have it set to 2. So there's 25 times the normal rate of death in this campaign from regular Bannerlord. So I think what that means is basically in normal Bannerlord, your players they're almost invulnerable, right? They can just eat shit 100 times and they never get killed. Here, every time a character goes down, Comet Royal or whoever, but the Baron, there's a 1 in 40 chance that they die, that's a high number. That's an alarmingly scary number. So there's fucking Vlandians all over the walls here. We're gonna blast them off with a huge amount of archers. And on this side over here, what do we have? The 4th. I'm going to get them the archer division and the 4th division. We're going to start these guys up the wall. They will get a ram there eventually. While they're bringing that ram up in the siege tower, we're going to jump on a fire catapult and help these guys blast through on the right here. Very important that we have this main thrust to try to draw away as much attention as we can from our real attack. Oh shit, there's a fucking Sturgeon veteran archer there. Kill that guy, boys. I'm fucking throwing axes. Throw over there. Fucking piece of shit. Trying to lift that ladder for those guys and he's trying to gun me down now. Damn it. This is something Tailworlds definitely needs to fix in 1.3. If you're listening, they must fix this. These guys consistently will only use one ladder, right? I'm going to shoot my own guys here. I thought that guy was going to help. Nah, they're going to make the Baron himself lift the ladder for this scum infantry. They need to fix that, right? Anytime the guys are only using one ladder, there should be a little coding in there where they're like, oh shit, let's lift the other ladder here. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that shit out. All right, let's jump on this fire catapult, add a little bit of misery and dismemberment and flaming, ghastly wounds to the enemy here before we race over to the other side. I've got my horse here, and again, strategically, tactically, our objective here is to apply pressure at the front. You see the guys pouring up the ladders there. The ram is steadily moving in. I want to try to blow a hole for those fellas on the walls. We're going to dial this fire catapult in, and once we do, shit, they're shooting my horse. Stay. Have to caress our little equine friend here. Stay, boy. We're going to cause some misery for the enemy on the wall. See all that pink up there? Once we dial those guys in, we're going to be able to immolate them and then get forces up there. And then I'm going to race over on my horse to that siege tower, and we will try to blast up the left side of this city. This is Sun Tzu, right? All warfare is based on deception. What we're doing here basically is trying to draw forces towards the main gate with the heavy press, right? There's nothing attacking the left side right now. So the AI is likely, they're not doing it yet, but they're likely to put a bunch of forces on the walls here to repel our ladders and also send a bunch of troops to the gate, right? We just killed a lord They're like, send reinforcements. You can almost picture them freaking out. We're being assaulted at the main gate. And of course, our real thrust is going to come from the left. Hopefully we can sweep through the city, right, and sack everything. And I digress. Actually, I would love to take this castle for Baron York, right? This is one of the most intricate and I would say defendable castles in the game. It's really a cool layout. It's beautiful. This is for sure a castle. Like if there's Bannerlord online, this is the one I'd be voting for. Please give me this castle. I would love to defend this, you know, with like 100 of you mates or something, playing online against 100 other F1, F3 scuzz, maybe 1,000, right? We kill them all. Now, I see troops starting to come over. They're definitely starting to come over to the main gate. In fact, there's a huge Zerg on the drawbridge, a bunch of troops heading over, and you know why? Because we were applying so much pressure at the gate. Look at all those fucks on the little ramp over there. Let me give you a little zoom in at this shit. Look at this. It looks like a Walmart Zerg all heading to the center. Beautiful, right? At just the right time, we're going to be able to rush that left side. And hopefully that's the puncture we need. Now, my fucking horse, just like the parking lot, I could never find my fucking car. Where's that little fob button so I can let it notify me where I am? Got to run over here. Thank God for the RTS mod. So we're going to very quickly get up here with the 2nd and 5th divisions. I have the 7th and 8th, but we're going to use them as a rear guard because the chances of reinforcements observing us from behind here is significant. What I'm going to do is place them directly behind all these troops on this siege tower. These guys are blasting their way up. That's because there's not very many defenders over here, right? The AI just sent 1,000 units or whatever to the gate. That's what all the yelling and screaming is over there. And we're going to take advantage of that, right? We got our little deception here. Thank you, Sun Tzu, for your wisdom. We're going to listen, and we're going to get our asses up here. So 5th, let's get... there's no real need to get archers on the walls quite yet, and I want at least one division out there. So let's just do it right here. We can set the 7th and 8th, basically a big spread swath behind the rest of our troops. That way, if we get zerged from behind, we'll have a little bit of a rear guard action to protect our troops. Now, here comes the Northern Empire, right? They're not deterred. Even though we got banner knights and elite troops here, they're sending in hordes of militia. They had like 1,600 defenders, right? So this is still not going to be a cakewalk. Even with all this tactical and strategic-minded approach, the AI is still going to fight like wolves here. And, you know, I'm reminded, you little woodrunner fucker. Fucking burn his hut down for sure. I'm reminded of a video I saw last week where I had a half hour at work, couldn't play. On YouTube, I was watching a fairly prominent YouTuber, Bannerlord. I was just kind of curious. What are their campaigns like? Are they emulating stuff we're doing on the channel, doing something better I can learn from? And I was sort of appalled because the guy was getting 1,500, 2,000 views in a campaign. I can't remember. I think it was the Aserai or something like that. And he was using no tactics at all. None of the battles were even that hard or interesting. I was really kind of amazed that 2,000, 1,500 people were watching. I don't know. Maybe I'm a snob. And maybe you guys really just like the ASMR, just absolutely trucking your foe. I kind of assume that more people want to see really interesting, gnarly battles, but maybe I'm the naive one here, right? Maybe, evidently, you know, that kind of shit was popular. It was really strange. There was a couple battles where they had, and what I mean by they, this YouTuber had like 1,500 defenders inside a city, and the enemy somehow attacked with 1,400. And he had like 900 troops in the courtyard and fucking troops everywhere. And the enemy didn't really even dent his force. I don't know. I was just surprised that so many people wanted to watch it. I guess I'm bitching. I think we should get more views here on the channel. Of course, guys say that all the time. They're like, your channel deserves way more views. I don't know. The algorithm's definitely sending fellas to our restaurant, but I remain perplexed that people want to eat stale tacos instead of our gourmet shit here. We'll continue to try to produce good content, and I guess we'll let the algos and your guys' opinions set up the rest. But now it's already getting gnarly. The enemy is just coming in with a huge Zerg. Of course, they're just popping up right around us here. It's sort of a cheat code, right? The reinforcers are just, they pop out of the ground. It's not very realistic, but we're going to have to really hold on to this left side here. I'm not willing to get pushed out of this left side here because the center and the right looks like they're not getting through. Like there's probably a huge amount of forces in the courtyard. We've got the weaker of the two jobs. Believe it or not, this is the easier of the two sides. At least it's mostly recruits and low-level troops. But there's a huge amount of them, right? There's just an absolute horde and they're fighting like wolves. Somehow these little recruits, they all went to, knight school, and they're parrying my 288 two-handed skill better than a legionnaire. So we've got a little bit of grass to cut here before we can get to the other side. Die! Now, they're Vlandian, too, so these are like traitors to the realms. Definitely be drawing, quartering some bitches here. Maybe we'll splash some lead on them like they would do with treasonous people back then. Let's do some of the other horrific tortures that they would actually do. It's not a video game. They would actually do that shit. They would pull the guy apart with horses. Before they did that, though, of course, they would literally heat up lead, which is a very dense, heavy metal, retains heat really well, and they would splash you with boiling lead, so it would just scald you for several minutes till it burned your flesh and cooled off. Then they would pull out your tongue, quite literally, grab your tongue with a pair of pinchers and start pulling until it's ripped from your throat. You can't make this shit up. Like I tell my wife sometimes some of the horrific tortures they did back in the medieval era. And of course, she already is concerned about the violent, war nature of men. And she's like, God, you men are just ghastly people. And I'm like, yeah, that's why we're still in charge, right? It's just a fucking ruthless male species, totally power-hungry, dominant, and ruthlessly violent. It's also the reason, of course, that human beings are here today, right? Have there been other... look at that, here's a Varangian. Of course, he's fighting like an absolute Leonidas and shit. It's awesome. This is fucking surreal. You would have thought that was a level 50 Lord. Nah, it's just a Varangian. Just from that incredible mod. Thank you, Lord of the Earth. All right, we've got these archers up here, but the human race, like, I've listened to some really interesting biologists talk about it. As much as we're destructive, and it's kind of a shame because we're destroying the environment and nonstop war, it's also the only reason we're here today, right? If we had been more pacifists earlier on in the evolution of humankind, some other more violent species would have just done the same thing to us, right? And that's, of course, what has happened to, whether it's Native Americans, Native Aboriginals, the more violent, aggressive, imperialistic species is just won over and over again. You could really look at humankind today as we're the leftovers of, like, basically a system designed to isolate and create the most violent, ruthless people or violent species on Earth. We're basically a result of that. So, no surprise, we play violent video games for fun, right? Killing people, dismembering them, then we laugh at them, LOL. Cut your arm off, dude. Now, the AI here is sort of surging back and forth, so I've got a counter to this. Let's get some archers spread out. Let's get archers back on this row here. There's a little ledge here where we can get a bunch of archers spread out, and anytime the AI either pops out of the ground, as in reinforcements, or zergs us, we're going to have just a line of archers shooting here. Look at this. All these guys here, I can join them. I still got forces charging at the center there, right? So we've got sort of this flanking spray, and I think this will be effective. I think, and indeed, look at the death spam. All of a sudden, it just lit with green as the enemy gets flushed. Of course, I'm down to a sliver of health as usual. Hey, Baron, I've got your back. Okay, so we're getting some help here. I don't know if we need it, but we'll take it, right? This keep siege doesn't look like it's over yet, and we could use some more violent people to help push back the enemy here. I mean, the enemy doesn't look like they're giving up to me. They're cutting down our units and shit. Jesus. All right, now we've got to get across this bridge. This bridge is a little bit of a blockade, a little bit of a choke point. We've got to push troops to the other side, so I'm risking getting killed or knocked out here, trying to just push a wedge. But once we're to the other side, I think we will sort of take stock of what's going on here. Right? There's a fuck ton still of enemy. I can just tell that by feel. I hear yelling and screaming. And more importantly, the enemy had, 16, 15, 1,700 troops, right? There's going to be a horde of troops over here. They're trying to counter us, but they're just kind of running up and getting suicided on. Oh yeah, there's a huge Zerg in there. All right, so let's start stacking units up on this drawbridge, right? We want to basically consolidate our gains here, make sure that we have a nice archer quartet. The 7th and 8th Corps are coming over, and that's critical because I've been holding fire with these guys, which probably seems strange, but this is a tactic I've just, a concept I've developed in really hard sieges like this. You're out of ammo if these guys are on open fire at this stage. I want to spread these guys out, from our right to our left and basically drag them. I'm going to lead the division here. I'm basically going to drag these guys into the open and then tell them to light it up, right? And we'll have nasty flanking fire on all of these different enemy troops. Then we'll charge, right? Once the 8th Corps is set up here. I got to really watch my health here. In fact, I got a nice little tent to command behind. Just fire at will, boys. And it's so beautiful, like when you have a tactical plan here. Now, it looks bad. The death spam is really bad. In fact, we're getting mauled at the gate, I think. But these archers should start to change the game here, right? There's all these troops fucking firing away. We just sent the infantry in, and now we can sort of help these guys make a press here, make a push. Come on, boys, push up. God, this is so many fucking enemy troops. I'm down to an absolute nugget of health. But I can't help but fly into combat here. It feels like we could still lose this siege. Of course, you can't see the power bar. That's just something we've been doing for many episodes now. You want drama, you're going to get it here. No blowouts on our channel. You guys are going to get just one stressful, exciting battle after another. All right, the front gate, charge. We've got enemy pinched here pretty good, but it's hundreds of troops there. We're trying to pinch. We're getting crossfired. Get up there on the walls. I've got a few guys coming up from the main way, but I'm going to try to help these guys here. It's a little bit of a spot where I can get a little bit out of line of sight here, where I've got no health, 0. We can snipe a few guys here. I'm probably going to get shot, though. In fact, I see fuckers shooting me. I see that guy on top of the gatehouse shooting me. Fucker. Look at him up there, you little fuck. All right, let's push in hard here, then we can get to the gatehouse, start chucking down rocks. Got to help with these little militia here, right? There's like 4 or 5 militia here. It looks like there's guys in the gatehouse, and yeah, so there was some guy in the gatehouse, shot me down. All right, everybody charge here, right? To hell with strategy. F1, F3, right, fellas? We'll apply to your inner F1, F3 monster here. Let's see. We can get some archers pushed towards this open area, but we just have to apply pressure on that gate. It should melt. This guy's got a full health bar. Now, I'm trying to preserve this guy, too. This is our scout. He's also been our crossbow commander since, like, day 10. It's amazing. This guy has been with us this whole campaign. For all the death, all the carnage, this guy is still with us. He's, like, in his 70s, too. He's old. The Baron is old. And I just think it's great we have these characters. They're like legacy characters at this stage of the campaign. I can't even think of this guy's name. It doesn't really matter though, right? He's helping. He's got good polearm skill, and of course he's got deadly crossbow skill. Okay, we've got archers up there. We've got this shit. The gate is being blasted, and success. And is there just? It's just so phenomenal for gameplay, right? You guys, one battle after another, it's just gnarly. There's no such thing as an easy victory in our campaign. Of course, part of the reason is we're just going to edit those out, right? And in the meanwhile, you get these incredibly grisly, bloody, gnarly, gritty, choose your adjective here, right? Every siege is just like pulling teeth. But victory, right? We're managing through all of this shit, all of this difficult mods to persevere. We're gaining skill points, right? Ephraim the Wanderer, smashing people. And a little bit of relief, right? Each one of these where it could be a loss, I take a deep breath. Always worried about that. The death, lots of death, of course, with the Death for All mod, but none of our units, right? So, thank goodness. The Baron is getting upset, though. The Baron is getting very frustrated, and more, we'll do on a little role-playing level here. The Baron is starting to become a little bit of an insane asylum. He is getting enraged beyond normal, rational suggestivity, right? If that makes sense. He's getting enraged to a point where he's starting to look a little bit insane to the people that are around him, right? They're saying, I don't think you want to do this, and the Baron's like, fuck that, we're doing it, right? He's starting to get very obstinate, and on a role-playing level, he's starting to do stuff that his sub-commanders, his second and third and fourth in command are like, I don't think that's a good idea. A little bit like Napoleon, where Napoleon just started to tilt off the deep end. What the hell was that? There's war against somebody. Something declares war. Oh, I know what happened. The Northern Empire is destroyed. That's what happened. That's right. All those little clans, they all declare war on you. So that's what this 16 is, right? Just click, click, click. There's a whole bunch of war declarations by all these clans that are no longer part of the Northern Empire. See, that's what I mean. The Baron is so irrational right now that he's not even aware that there was a major event in this campaign, right? The Northern Empire is no more on this third day of summer 11. 1/11/11/11, make a wish, a realm fell. But the Baron is starting to get like Napoleon in 1811, 1812. All of his advisors, almost all of them, said, don't invade Russia, work out a peace treaty. Don't invade Russia. They have a huge kingdom, a huge amount of troops, and their troops they fight like wolves. You'll be invading. They'll fight even harder on their own grounds. You're going to have logistical issues, and what did Napoleon do? He fought in Russia anyways, right? He invaded Russia to his downfall, right? So a little bit like that. Baron York here is starting to tilt out. He's starting to get a little bit irrational. But at this stage, right, his shrewd nature, his ruthless nature, and his creativity in war, and of course some tactics, is helping us persevere here. Pendraic is besieged by the Vlandians. Didn't you guys already try and you got mangled? Looks like they're going to try again. Man, that is weird. I swear that army just got captured. I'm not sure what's going on there. Anyways, maybe it's deja vu. We're going to move north here. The Baron was summarily banished from Vlandia and stripped of all noble titles. Ah, you bastards. All of a sudden, the Vlandians are at war with us. We are booted out of the kingdom. You sons of bitches. And just like that, right, things are collapsing around the Baron here as all of these Vlandian forces, these were literally just in an army with us, were kicked out of the kingdom, and now we're at war with all these. We're out of the kingdom. Where's the rest of our companions? I guess we got to hope that they will join in reinforcement mode here, and of course we are role-playing, right? The Baron has been exiled from the Vlandians for abandoning Alari, right? King Alari was abandoned. There's rumors that he was killed. And there was evidently eyeballs that were aware of that, right? So the Baron doesn't have a kingdom yet, but he has been exiled, right? We no longer are part of the Vlandian realm. We are now at war with Vlandia, right? I told you guys I was going to keep you on your feet in this campaign. I was going to keep this campaign interesting. How's this for it, right? We're suddenly just cast off into the wilderness here and attacked immediately by armies that we were just leading, right? That's part of the nature of a situation like this when you become independent. Now, of course, we did a little bit of editing there. I exited real quick, so it was more climactic, right? Instead of being anticlimactic, I did all that with a little bit of editing, add a cutscene or two, and you guys will understand exactly what's going on here. The Northern Empire, the Northern Empire is gone, but the Vlandians are now trying to capture and kill this rebel Baron York, right? Word got through to some of the Vlandian nobles that he's not actually noble, but more importantly, there were spies that had witnessed the Baron basically laughing and abandoning King Alari to his fate. That was a couple episodes ago. There are now repercussions to that, right? The Baron and company are on their own. So we can't even form an army here. We're fighting together right here, but only because we're with each other at the moment that the Vlandians effectively brought up this guard of troops and says, you're no longer a Vlandian, motherfucker. You're kicked out. In fact, surrender or die, right? So Baron York said, no, you die, right? We're not the ones that are going to die here. Bring it, right? So we've got a battle here just to survive, just to get back to our homeland, and we'll have to declare a kingdom. And those of you who have been patiently waiting and maybe even wondering whether or not we were going to be our own kingdom, here you go, right? So we've got to be tactically smart in this battle here. I'm going to start by kiting. And I see messages happening that I'm not reading very well. I think forces have joined here. There's all kinds of potential chaos with the reinforcement system in this battle because the Northern Empire, all those troops that were part of the Northern Empire, they just sort of scurried up, and I don't know if they're going to join or attack or what. So just hold on to your hats here, folks. Strap yourself in. Who knows what the fuck's going to happen here. And of course, Baron York could definitely get executed at any point now, right? He's committed atrocities. He is despised by everybody now, right? Effectively now, Baron York has no friends. He's got his captains. His wife isn't even that thrilled about him. His children are exiled. And the whole world basically wants to see Baron York's head on a spit. Well, good luck, right? You're going to have to fucking take it from him. He's not about to give it to anybody. You know, we're enjoying the anti-hero, right? This incredibly savage unit, Baron York. It's fun, of course, to make sort of this anti-hero, a guy that you guys both love but also hate. Where's this noble bitch? Catch a javelin. Of course, it's fun to add a little role-playing, a little bit of a backstory to a campaign like this, and now the real campaign starts. Right? Baron York unleashed on everybody, and Vlandia may very quickly find out how much they miss the Baron. Right? We are going to inflict some pain on them. We'll see diplomatically what we're going to do here. I'm still sort of formulating all that in my head. There were certain things that I had planned for this campaign. In other words, contrived. Of course, his children being exiled. There were certain things that were, of course, going to happen. I'm going to try to slow down their infantry here. I just want to tell you tactically, because they're trying to come up with a huge infantry wave. We're kiting. So I'm just kind of dragging our cavalry through here to buy a little bit of time. We have horse archers with us here, which these must be like Northern Empire forces. And then what we're going to do is back these archers up as far as we can and basically then charge with this crossbow group. We have 3 different divisions here. They're pressed against the edge of the map here, so these guys are going to have to get dirty. Now, fortunately, you charge and hold fire with all these guys at the same time, and it's pretty close to having 90 or 100 solid infantry here. We're going to help them, and hopefully we can blast this fucking Vlandian infantry right the hell out of here. Look at that death spam. That's beautiful. That's archers mangling infantry. I see Varangians in here. Kill them. Target the Vlandians. All right, now we can get these guys up into nice positions on the ridge and have them fire away. Get out of here, Legionnaire. Having a javelin right in the neck. Set these guys up. They've still got ammo. Our infantry and cavalry can charge their main force in the center there. I can't actually tell what's going on. There's so many different units that all have red here. So apologies for this, right? This is going to be a little bit of a thing. If the guy's head gets cut off, that's probably an enemy troop. We don't have friendly fire. But this campaign, I would just say, is going to get extra gnarly, right? Extra spicy for you fellas. You can actually thank the DLC being delayed for this, right? I had some initial thoughts of making this campaign 40, 45, 50 episodes. Well, it's going to go beyond that now because of this delay, right? I now have the interest, desire, and frankly, the time to make this 60, maybe 70 episodes, right? Where it's just a wild ride. And we find out what happens here with Baron York against all these different very violent, very angry kingdoms. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to some huge battles here. And now that we've sort of pushed this Vlandian forces off us here, unless more reinforcements come in here late, Baron York is going to go make his own kingdom. Of course, you got to go to your city. You got to talk to, well, you got to talk to a governor, basically. To proclaim yourself a new kingdom, right? You can't just do it out in the bushes and raise a flag in the middle of nowhere. You gotta raise the standard from your citadel, right? So we gotta destroy their archers still here. I'm not sure why they're not retreating. I guess they need to be killed. So we will comply. Let's bring up crossbow here, have these guys open fire. The infantry can charge in the middle, and let's drive cavalry through their side. Kill any of these routing troops here, you bunch of cowards. All right, we've got cavalry firmly on the enemy's left flank, or on the right flank here. We could drive it through, push forward with these crossbow divisions here. And I think the enemy's out of ammo. They're not really shooting, and I don't see death spam. This is an occasional death spam. So we've got our cavalry division here. We've got the hammer in the front between the crossbow divisions. We're going to be able just to slash right through here and just cause major carnage. Look at this shit. Beautiful. You're dead. Now there's units here with green shields, as if there wasn't enough chaos. The reinforcement system is just going to get tasty in this campaign. Of course, the Baron is definitely going to be seeking minor clans, right? We must have some help. It's very, very unlikely that anybody's going to join the Baron. Of course, imagine what happens when you raid villages and execute nobles for 25 years. Nobody likes you, right? His relations with a lot of different kingdoms is going to be bad. So we'll see what kind of help we get in this campaign. We'll see what other kinds of twists and turns there are going to be in this campaign. Here's one thing I can promise. This won't be ordinary from here on out, right? I just don't do ordinary That could almost be the tagline for our channel. Tactics, and we don't do ordinary. We do extraordinary. My wife always laughed at that word. Extraordinary, like it's even more ordinary than normal. Of course, the meaning has changed, right? Extra, it kind of means like not, or the opposite almost. Think of extraterrestrial. That doesn't mean like someone who's very much from this country. It means like someone who's definitely not from this country, right? So the opposite of ordinary here. This campaign hopefully can be extraordinary. All right, no deaths. That's good, right? Capture all these Vlandians. Although I think there's going to be some deaths, right? In fact, I'm cracking the proverbial knuckles here, right? I just fucking lowered my brow a little bit like a Neanderthal here. We're going to start playing even more to character. Baron York's going to drink a few times, too. I'm not going to be just a rampant drunkard fucking saying nonsense this whole campaign, but probably once or twice a month. The Baron is going to play drunk. Of course, that's me. I'll be playing drunk, talking some shit, or maybe doing some historical analogies, and then committing atrocities, right? Because it's much easier to kill people when you don't have oxygen reaching your brain. Get some loot here. We're going to have to figure out our loot situation here. And actually, I just realized it's going to be no easy task getting home here. There are fucking sea raiders galore in this valley. This valley, they used to call it Baron's Alley because he basically owned this alley. You could almost say it's Sea Raider Alley now. Sea Raider Alley now. I mean, look at that shit. There's 126. There's a couple hundred ahead of us. Now, we do have other forces that are sort of helping here. And if it's a small force, I'm not going to fight it. But if we get attacked by 600 Sea Raiders, we'll fight, right? Or if it looks like there's going to be a fight where we could lose, we won't auto-resolve, right? We will fight even bandits at this stage because I can't form an army, right? You guys know that at this stage, we're not a kingdom, so you can't actually call any armies to you. That means Comet Royal, you and Marco are on your own here for a little bit. It'll probably take us a couple, 4 days. In fact, I'm hugely encumbered here. And you know what? Even if I drop all the grain, we're still hugely encumbered, so fuck it. Let's just carry it all. No matter what, our movement speed will be 1.0. I think we'll be okay. Unless all of a sudden a huge force looms up here, we're just going to try this. We're going to try trudging our way home. Now, fortunately, there's these Northern Empire clans that, at least for the moment, Lanalion and stuff like that, they're basically neutral with us. They don't like us, but they don't hate us either. Let's see. All right, our forces are sort of navigating this. And this is chaos. There's Sea Raiders rampaging all over the place, chasing guys away. Meanwhile, Marco and Comet, they went into Ormondfard Castle. Atta girl, atta boy, way to go. All right, they both got safe. What's happened here? Already, Ragnvad of the Sturgeons declared war. Yeah, well, maybe we'll fucking sack your cities first, you punk motherfucker. All right, let's chase these guys down here. Let's see. Stay with me here. And you can't control them at all at this stage, right? They're basically free agents. They're doing whatever they want. So we're going to try to navigate this. I'm going to actually fight this and see what happens. What I think is this may pull in 3 or 4 bands of Sea Raiders. So if nothing happens, we'll just blaze through this real quick, right? You can see the power bar. The enemy has no chance. But there's tons of Sea Raiders nearby. I think there's a good chance they're going to join. And if that's the cue that they're joining. So hold on to your hats here. I don't know what this is going to be like because all of the bandits within, X distance can theoretically join this battle. There could be 1,000 bandits in this battle. And how ironic would it be that Baron York gets captured and or executed by bandits to start his kingdom. Gonna be interesting to see. There's 200 right there that just poured into the margins of the screen, and these are not weak troops, right? Anybody who's like, you're just crushing looters. No. Not with the adjustable bandit and dangerous bandit mod. As you'll soon see, there's like Sea Raider chiefs in here and Lake Rat wreckers. There's Skolderbrada with their savage axes and shit like that. Look at that shit. And they're going to have heaps of throwing weapons. So we're going to have to, let's see here. We're going to have to get to range. What they don't have is archers, so that's our edge. Let's get archers up on this ridge here. We can start to form like a C shape. And I think this is awesome. Hopefully it's 1,000 Sea Raiders that attack us here, right? Because you get this totally unique battle right in the middle. And it's a critical stage. I can't afford to lose this battle, right? The Baron obviously can't afford to lose. He's trying to make his own kingdom. And we'll see. Maybe this will be all it is, right? It's 200 or whatever Sea Raiders. We can handle 200, but it still might be 600, right? So hold on to your hats. I'm going to sacrifice the first division here in a square. Let's get these guys up here. We can basically just have them absorb as many different throwing weapons as they can. Eventually, I'm going to probably peel those guys back. Let's get all these archers way back, right? We need to try to create some distance. Your javelins. Oh shit, more are joining. Join the battle as enemies, Sea Raiders. And looters can join. Hell, Forest Rangers conceivably could join. This is going to be a feature of this campaign. Now, once you have an army of 900, it's not a big deal. But when you have an army of 150 or 200, it's a big fucking deal. So let's charge cavalry in here. They're sort of shredding our infantry division with ranged weapons. We'll back those guys up. Our cavalry did decent work there. Our crossbow is what's going to do the killing, right? You can see the bolts flying in by me here. But it's awesome. Look at Scolder Brother, Lake Rat. And it makes the bandit armies feel like an actual faction in the game almost. They have their own little unique color on the shield there. The little spiral location or spiral little logo or whatever you want to call it. We can now start to push in here. Comet, I've been saving your division with the 3rd Corps. We're going to have you guys roll up the enemy's left flank here. You've been protected there while the 1st Division takes all the blows. Marco, you can Comet, you can thank Marco in this battle here. And of course, I'll remind you fellas, ladies, fellas, everybody, if you want to be part of this campaign, right, you need to contact me. The best way to get priority in this campaign, in other words, to be sure that your character is going to land in the campaign on some level, is to join our Patreon. I have the luxury at this stage of so many guys that want to be part of the campaign that I can basically make that a bit of a requisite. And we get a little hammer and anvil there. Actually worked pretty well. It's the first time a hammer and anvil has worked well for me. Just had our infantry hold the front with the shield wall. I might even have to go back and look at that because that looked really good. And then we just charged from behind with cavalry and the enemy melted. Of course, the enemy here doesn't have great armor. They have decent armor. So anyways, just to finish that little pump to our Patreon, right? We're continuing to try to encourage Patreon support for the ad-free content that's there. And of course, again, if you want priority placement for one of your units in our campaign, like Comet, like Marco here, like the other people who have characters named for them, join our Patreon. All right. That's an order. The Baron orders you to join the Patreon. You don't want to disobey the Baron, right? I mean, you guys know what happens. This is the guy who disobeyed. All right. Anyways, I appreciate all the Patreon supporters, and I also appreciate all the YouTube supporters. You're a starving college student and can't afford $2 for our Patreon. No problem at all, brothers. I understand. All right. So I don't know if there's more battles going here. We'll certainly take these free troops. I remain of the belief that the Baron is going to be a nationalist. He's not going to be recruiting Sturgeon Scuzz. We'll definitely take some of these Sea Raiders and Lake Rat veterans. The Baron is sort of a bandit by nature. This guy is scuzzy. He likes raiding and robbing and skullduggery and the criminal life is definitely for the Baron. So we'll take some of these brigands. They can kind of augment our Vlandian troops. The Lake Rats especially. I would love to have 50 Lake Rats because the Vlandians really don't have any skirmishers. So our companions are kind of rampaging all over the place here. And oh shit, right? It didn't take long. The Vikings are coming to town here. And Comet Royal's being attacked. Where? We got you, Comet. Okay, they're chasing troops, chasing Vlandian forces. But we're getting close to Ox Hall here. And once we get to Ox Hall, we'll be able to sort of restore everything. And, of course, most importantly, make a kingdom. Now, where's the Sturgeon force going? Fuck. They're, like, bearing down on us here. I might have to dump all our food if that Sturgeon force starts to close in on us. Taken prisoner. Marco. Okay. Why is it stalled? Oh, I hit reset. I was like, what's happened here? My game is stalled. I'm like looking around. I hit the little reset transactions or whatever, and sometimes that gives the game fits. All right, we're a day here from Ox Hall, dragging all this food, but it's going to be worth it, right? We dragged all that extra food. We're going to really need it. Of course, the Vlandians are already attacking. The Regent Ellis is at Ormondfard Castle. Well, we're going to teach them a good lesson too, right? The Baron is very angry. Anybody who's like thinking maybe he's satiated because, now he's back to his own city here, on the contrary, right? The Baron, in fact, Let's make an example out of some bitches here, right? This bowl cut 22-year-old dipshit. He looks like an asshole too. The Baron's gonna go ahead and set up a little public execution event here. Hear ye, this scum Vlandian today is executed for treason against the House of York. We'll roll his carcass down into the river and put his head on a pike on the wall. Now, we've got a huge garrison here, but it's kind of a mix of low-level troops. So I'm probably also going to spend a few minutes here and flesh out our army. I also got to dump a bunch of shit in the stash. Our wife is very angry.
Too much time has gone by.
She's very angry because we've been away from home so long. The Baron gives no fucks. He's out there porking every single woman he can because he's despicable. Don't be like that in real life. But the Baron is fun to roleplay. It's just an absolute sack of shit. The house, the House of York, right? We will start to form it up. Of course, the real House of York was like 1400s. We'll alter history a little bit here. Get the little theatricals as Baron York and all his advisors here. Start this campaign in style, right? Baron York. I know you guys have been probably impatiently waiting this moment. Well, here we go, right? Episode 40. He's finally his own kingdom. And a lot of guys like to comment or say at this stage, now the real campaign begins, right? And we're no longer under the control of the dipshit Aserai. In fact, he's buzzard meat. And the real stratagems, the real carnage and chaos now begin. And of course, Baron York is an outlaw, right? He is to the highest level hunted throughout Vlandia, right? He's despised. People want to kill him, but that's okay. The Baron also wants to kill too. So a little bit of editing and we'll be right back. We got too many troops now, and this is what I mean. I'll try to save you from most of this. We've got to dump off a bunch of recruits here. I'm taking a little bit of a risk here. These are the kind of things you have to do at this stage of an early kingdom. We've got to leave a light garrison here at Ox Hall. Of course, we're going to be recruiting like crazy, but we're leaving recruits and footmen and levy crossbow there. Hopefully, Liana can hold the fort. There's still going to be about 600 troops with the garrison and the militia, so I like that, to hold for quite a while. Of course, if we get captured, that's going to be another story, right? Our whole army will be destroyed. Now, I want to show you this gal here. Just picked her up at the tavern, Elta, the Wainwright, and, it's theoretically, that's a future clan, right? Anybody who has attributes of somebody who can lead a clan, a healer, an engineer, definitely a possible clan leader. And of course, we're looking for other people to join us, right? It's very unlikely we're going to be able to get anybody to join the Baron at this state, right? His relation, whether it's a role-playing or not, is highly damaged in this campaign. Now, first things first, I want to reinforce these castles. Ormenfard, this is kind of a critical bastion here holding back the Highlands Arena. I'd like to have about 500 troops there all the time. Now, I see armies going up to Revolt, right? And there's Canute, Forkbeard, with an army of 2,000 sieging the rebels. It's kind of tempting, but we can't meddle with stuff like that right now. Of course, we're fighting Vlandian forces first and foremost. That said, the Sturgeons are going to be a problem, right? They're going to come down from the Highlands Arena. We're only at war with 2 kingdoms right now, but that's going to change. And we've got our first face-off here. We've got a force of 1,200 more Sturgeons. They're coming to Turby Castle to siege. I don't think so, right? We're not about to give up one of our castles. Now, I could wait, but I'm kind of impatient at this stage of an early campaign. I think we're going to fight right here in the Baron's Alley. We're going to establish this as the Baron's Alley. Now, I want to wait for daylight here, and I'm a little concerned about reinforcements, right? I think these Sturgeons and Vlandians right now have a bit of a peace treaty. They do. Unfortunately, our enemies are united, at least temporarily here. So it's conceivable that we'll get reinforcements here and Vlandian forces helping the Sturgeons. Won't that be a bitch? But it is what it is, right? And the Baron at this stage hates everybody, so he welcomes a fight with everybody. And of course, this may be his undoing. We shall see. This will be part of the fun of this campaign. We're going to continue to play shrewd, but we're also going to fight with our hair on fire. We're going to take chances. We've got 711 pretty damn good troops, and if we can win this battle and gain a head of steam, We'll have some upgrades, and it'll be a perfect last battle for this episode. I'm looking over. This is going to be about an hour-long episode. So let's smash this Sturgeon force. I feel pretty good about defeating this first force because it doesn't have their nemesis lords in it. There's no Canute, Forkbeard, or Glaron Heavy-Handed, or any of the other Armageddon Sturgeon leaders. It's not the greatest battlefield. It's very compacted, but I think we can still use this to our advantage. A double shield and shock approach will collapse on them with the 2nd, 3rd, 7th, and 8th. I like how that's working. The 1st on defense, and then 3 crossbow divisions. And we don't have a lot of Billmen and Volgiers, but it's enough, right? It's like 50-60% of our total infantry. I wish it was 70, 75% Volgiers, and just do major damage. They're one-shotting guys left and right. But I think we'll get to that point, right? The Baron still, he's going to have crossbow. That's not his preference. But he still prefers the bull approach. We'll see how that works, right? In this case, we're trying to bull tough infantry, right? This is not exactly advisable material for you at home. Get more crossbow for this situation, more archers. If you're having trouble, of course, with this battle, use Phoenix, right? And just surround this ruthless force here. Of course, if you're facing this Sturgeon force with these highly upgraded god infantry, maybe you don't need my help. Because you're probably playing it on like ultra high difficulty. So I like this. We got Comet here in charge of the 7th, right? We've got our companions here. These Patreon supporters are into the battle. They're leading divisions. They're leading armies. This side over there is going to be on reserve initially, just to sort of sustain cavalry damage there, not do too bad, and then we will launch them into a flank attack at the end of the battle, right, to sort of slam into the rear of the enemy once they've committed. It's a bit of a kill box with infantry. All right, so let's get some archers, crossbows spread out here on the enemy's right flank. We can get that 6th. It's kind of an oblong shaped crossbow formation we have here. We have a ranged advantage here on the Sturgeons because they're almost entirely infantry with some cavalry. I would imagine they have under 100 archers in their army. Didn't look real close. But of course, what it's going to be is a huge amount of infantry. And the other thing I noticed is it wasn't 400 Varangians. The Sturgeons on some level are starting to get war exhausted because even with the StrengthenAI mod, I've mentioned this, they run out of elite troops eventually, right? They have some elite troops, but it's not the whole army. It seems like that usually takes 2 or 3 weeks for an army for an enemy army to upgrade to that level. So let's start opening up the center. Of course, 1st Division towards our left. We're going to bring the 7th and 8th in onto this ridge and then collapse on the enemy once they commit against our 1st. I'm just keeping this circle square formation because it's superior protection for your shock troops. Those guys are protected from archers, cavalry, pretty much everything. Now they can't fight like that, but it's a perfect way to hold them there in safety. You guys should try it if you haven't yet. Now let's move the 2nd and 3rd out here to counter their cavalry. Shield wall charge with this crossbow is so awesome. You can just instantly turn these guys into defense and repel this cavalry charge. As if cavalry wasn't weakened enough already, right? Then you charge them with sharpshooters. We're getting caught up here a little bit with the 4th Division, but they can kite up the hill. And meanwhile, here comes the 7th and 8th, right over the ridge into the back of the enemy. They do have some archers here. I'm going to have to get a cav division to face them, probably the 8th. But let's do some damage first, right? Let's kill some infantry. Priority number 1 is to kill this huge Sturgeon infantry. It just stretches across the whole valley. Now, like I said, there's brigands in there. There's woodsmen. They have some weak units. This is definitely an army we should be able to crush. If it was all Varangians, we wouldn't win this battle. 512 infantry. We've already probably killed 150. They must have had 700-800 infantry. It's awesome. This fucking Battlesize mod is so rad. All right, 2nd and 3rd here come crashing across the middle. Let's get the 8th Corps here, just facing their archers. That'll give us a little bit of a corridor to work with back here. And now we just annihilate this infantry, right? 4 different divisions, 2 infantry divisions soaring in here. Crossbows should be shooting pretty well from our left flank. And the rest of the troops just getting dirty, right? Let's join them here. The Baron is starting to gain a little taste for fighting on foot, right? Especially when he gets to rip the arms off of Varangians. Maybe if it's all Varangians, we'll stay on horse. This is kind of nice. We get sort of a starter battle in this kingdom. This is definitely not the strongest Sturgeon force we've faced, but that's the nature of it, right? Sometimes your enemy gets weak too. They get war exhausted. The bottom line is the Sturgeons probably need a month or two apiece to really get ahead of steam. I don't know what's happening on their other flank. For all we know, the Khazate or some other force is attacking them. That's the beauty of this fog of war. For all I know, the Sturgeons are getting enveloped by the Khazate, right? That's the beauty. We're just sort of playing out what we can see, what's in front of us. And speaking of what's in front of us here, look at what we're seeing now. This is beautiful. I mean, not for the challenge sake, of course we want to challenge, but it's lots of recruits. So the Sturgeons are desperate, right? They've called in their farmers, their blacksmiths, and said, we need you today. And Baron York is very happy to chop apart a bunch of recruits, a bunch of fucking blacksmiths that didn't call him Lord and get down to the fucking gutter when he walked by, right? These guys were insolent and rude to him, and the Baron York is like, now you get lacerations across your whole chest. That one's called an avulsion. An avulsion is where the flesh is sheared away from your body. We'll break out a little medical terminology from my firefighter experience here. Get trucked by cavalry, and let's crush this archers and finish the arrival of Baron York and his new kingdom. It's nothing but archers left here as I get staggered with my javelins looking like a dipshit. This cavalry here just holding the line now, and behind them, of course, is Volgiers. A flush of green here, and Baron York is victorious. Now, no reinforcements. I've been a little bit more diligent. I see, actually, Gordiana's party didn't join the battle. Kind of interesting. Right? Maybe we found a little bit of an equilibrium with the reinforcement mod. It's clearly active, but in situations where the AI thinks they're going to lose, it seems like they're not going to, and that's good, right? The caravan didn't join the battle. You don't really want, like, a bunch of villagers storming in. I've said it 10 times. The balance is what you're seeking with that reinforcement mod. A realism to it where, opportunistically maybe an army or even a caravan might join, but not if they're going to get slaughtered, right? If 50 caravan troops came in right now, we got these 300 or 400 troops, they insta-die, right? So appropriately, the enemy is fleeing and they got no help, right? Because we mashed them pretty good here. We lost about half our army, a little bit more than half, but I like this as a result. And critically, no deaths, right? We didn't lose Artorias, we didn't lose Comet Royal, we didn't lose Garrison or any of the other Patreon and YouTube supporters. Try to keep you guys alive, but understand you're fighting Varangians, you're fighting in the trenches in one of the hardest YouTube campaigns that's out there. I'm sure someone else's, like Strat Gaming Guy, did that whole campaign where he was naked and throwing javelins with like a party of one or something like that. We're not doing anything crazy like that, but this is a brutally hard campaign. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. It's going to be twists and turns. There are going to be ups and downs. Right now we're up, right? I feel pretty good. We're gaining skill points here. Elta, the Wainwright, is gaining leadership and shit like that. And this campaign still has a lot of life left in it here. We'll get rid of some of these illegal units and wrap this episode up. Of course, if you want to see more, now's the time to subscribe, right? Hit that notification button. That way you know when new episodes come out. Come join us for Baron on this wild ride. I appreciate you, fellas. Hit that like button, and I will see you, friends, next time.